Medical terminology is a lot like learning a new language. As a matter of fact, medical terms are often referred to as the language of medicine. There are many terms in this language that you would likely never use on a daily basis unless you are a healthcare professional speaking to another healthcare professional. Many of the words are lengthy and seem to include most letters of the alphabet, which is something that doesn't frequently occur in English. There are many keys to learning and being able to use a new language. One key is to understand how the people who created the language came up with the words in the language. This holds true for medical terminology as well. Let's look at how this applies to medical terminology. Humans tend to be very prideful people who are ready to share their accomplishments with the world. This leads many people to name their discoveries after themselves or something that reflects them. This is a way for them to get recognition for what they discovered. Now, what this means to you is that you sometimes end up with some really funny or weird looking names for some rather simple things. This is especially true when it comes to science and medicine. There are scientists and doctors all over the world that are seeking a deeper understanding of our bodies and how they function. When this is achieved, then a new word is needed. When a word is based on a person or place rather than a description of the meaning, then this is called an eponym. Eponyms in medical terminology are most commonly seen in the names of diseases. Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease is an example of an eponym. The name of this disease doesn't tell you anything about the fact that the disease affects the brain and causes it to degenerate, or that it is passed from animals to humans due to consuming contaminated meat. The name does tell you the two people who it is named after. Two neurologists from Germany by the names of Hans Gerhard Creutzfeldt and Alphonse Maria Jacob discovered this disease. Turner syndrome is another example of an eponym. This condition is named after a physician by the name of Henry Turner. Turner syndrome, while named after a man, ironically only affects females. It occurs when a female is created with one X chromosome and a missing sex chromosome. You would never know what this condition entails based on the name alone. There are also some eponyms in medical terminology that are not diseases. Have you given much thought to why the tubes in your ears are called eustachian tubes? That term has nothing to do with ears or tubes. What it does have to do with is the person who discovered the tubes in our ears. That person's name is Bartolomeo Eustachian. Some scientists also choose things that interest them or their beliefs to name their discoveries. Achilles tendon is an example of this. This part of the body was named after a character in Greek mythology. The Achilles tendon connects the calf muscle to the heel of the foot. Achilles in Greek mythology is most noted in regards to his weakness in his heel, and so this tendon got its name based on that reference. So every person that makes a discovery is not sold on naming things after themselves. Some people decide to name their discoveries based on what they discovered. Instead, they choose descriptive terms, which are terms that describe the discovery. This can be very helpful when it comes down to remembering new words as you are learning this new language. Images can be put into your head based on the words and what they are describing. We'll now take some time to go over some common medical terms that are descriptive terms. One of the most commonly used words in medicine and life science in general is one that is descriptive. We can look at the smallest unit of life to see an example of a descriptive term. Cell is the term I am referring to. This term cell is used to describe the individual units that are found in every living organism that is able to carry out all the functions of life. This term was used because when Robert Hooke first discovered cells, he realized that they looked very similar to the small circles or cells that are seen in cork. You are probably familiar with the term microorganism, but you may not have realized that this is a medical term. Yet you likely knew this had to do with an organism that is too small to be seen with the naked eye just based on the name. An organism is of course a living thing, and micro means so small that it can only be seen with the use of a microscope. These are two very easy examples, but of course there are some much harder ones. The term pericardium is one that you probably haven't spent much time discussing up to this point. This term tells you exactly where to find this structure. Perhaps you've been told to do some cardio exercises. You know these are exercises to work your heart muscles. Peri is a descriptive prefix that means surrounding. So the pericardium is what surrounds the heart muscles. In this lesson, we looked at two different ways that words have been created in medical terminology. Some words are based on the person that made the discovery, some aspect of the person that discovered something, or fictional characters. Other words are created in order to explain the discovery. Some examples of discoveries that are named after the person that discovered them are Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, Eustachian tubes, and Turner syndrome. Achilles tendon is an example of a term based on a fictional character. Anytime a discovery is named after the person that discovered it or some fictional character, it is known as an eponym. In other instances, terms are created to describe what the word is about, and these are called descriptive terms. These words are able to put an image in your head of what the term is describing, and this may make the full meaning of the word stick better. Some examples of this are cell, microorganism, and pericardium. Luckily for you and others entering the healthcare field, more eponyms are being converted into descriptive terms, which will help in your quest to learn the language of medicine.